Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. I just wanted to give a couple of housekeeping. This recording, or I'm sorry, this webinar is being recorded. So if you feel like you're going to miss anything, don't. You'll be able to catch back up and see it at the end of the day. The chat function is not enabled, but the Q&A is. So if you have any questions pop up at any time, please feel free to drop them in there. Carm will make sure that they make it to the panel. So with that, I want to thank everybody on the panel for joining us today, for being part of Amplify. You guys are amazing. And, this day wouldn't be what it is without you. So thank you to all of you. And I'm going to hand this over to Carm to take it away.
Thank you so much, Nicole. We're honored to be here today. Exciting. Who would want to end the week in any better moment than this with this great panel? Let me introduce him to you. Jerry Truglia is here from TST and the big event. By the way, that's coming up Saturday, April 6th. How cool is that? If you want to go to New York, a great reason to go. G's also with his own shop and with Dorman Training. Good to have you, G.
Thanks, Carm. Good to be here. Thank you.
Doc Duggan is with us from Sin City Performance, Las Vegas, Nevada. VegasProTune@gmail.com. Good to have you here. Russ and Cindy Reason. Wow. Frontline Automotive from Alaska. I've known a couple of shop owners in Alaska, but never really had a chance to work with them in a panel like this. Exciting to have them here.
We're excited to be here too.
We're so happy. By the way, 4 days a week, everyone, which is cool. And I just saw a documentary recently. 653,000 square miles in the great state of Alaska. And it's probably mostly snow, right?
Pretty much.
Right now it's all snow, yeah.
It's all snow. Okay, great. Well, so glad to have you here. Our objective here is to have a great, wide open discussion of current and future strategies, opportunities, and challenges that we're facing in the industry in this great independent auto repair service industry. Now, these topics all came from our panels. We've had some pre-calls just to say, hey, what can we do really well for our Amplify audience? So your questions are important to put them in the Q&A. Let us start. We've got 50 some minutes together. G, what are we going to need to keep our technicians up to date? Because it's moving so fast.
Moving very fast. In the past 5 years, things have moved so fast that things in 15, 20 years didn't go. So we need updated training, information, really big, especially with the Right to Repair Act. If we can't get the right information, then obviously we can't diagnose and fix the vehicles. But people need to come out, watch not only webinars, but I think mechanics and technicians learn the best by hands-on. Hands-on training is really the best. So I think if they update, they won't evaporate. So get out and get some training, and that'll help you stay in business and ahead of the curve.
So I'm going to stay.
Taking advantage of your auto dealers. They put out training programs, Napa, Lithia, sending your technicians to those anytime you can, just to get any information updated. Is also another way of getting out there.
Yep.
Yeah, right. And Jerry touched on a topic too with the Right to Repair Act, and I get pretty involved this last year with the SEMA committee and the group of people that put that together. So it's amazing to actually be a part of that group and then follow this movement that we really need to have happen, and the training that's even available online. And in person. They're getting ready to have a pretty big one at the I was at the ITTN, I think, in Detroit. Looks like some really industry great training on topic, chasing what's happening in industry today with the changes in all of our automobiles. So it's a challenge to keep the training active for sure.
Right. And that's one of the things that we're offering to our neighboring solutions, because you said you guys in Alaska, that's amazing, and all over the country. And for us, we hold the footprint as a performance shop, but you don't think, let's bring my Honda Civic to a performance shop, but we do a lot of general repair. And then we offer our services to surrounding shops. That's why one of the things we're trying to do is work with these shops to build either an in-house or cultivate a relationship. So if you have a technician, one of our jokes with a lot of our neighbors is they call them wrench. I need to hire more wrenches because they actually don't have intelligent technicians as often as they used to, because it's changing so fast. So having a relationship with someone that can back you up and help you out with saying, hey, so we get a lot of cars in where people, they come to the bay and it's just like, hey, can you diagnose this? Or it's a phone call or it's a remote session. And we're utilizing, just like this webinar, for the, for everyone that's interested, we're connecting through the internet to go, hey, did you consider that that's not an alternator? That's actually got a strange connection at the firewall on that Dodge Charger, the way that battery cable goes. And that's now a 10-year-old car. It probably needs to be looked at. They'd be like, oh man, we put a battery, we did a wrong repair. So cultivating relationships with people that will have the information and can help you with it.
I have to say something, guys and lady. Wrench, hire a wrench. I haven't heard that in so long. And that almost goes to show you someone who's way out of date, right, Doc?
Yeah. So the guy that actually spearheaded that, bless his heart, his name is Wayne, and he is really known as a Rolls Royce shop. And so talk about, he's been around for a long time and he's known to work on vintage Rolls Royces, but when it bridges the gap, so when he has problems with injectors, they send them to us because we remanufacture them, or he gets cars that have like engine conversions and LSs or whatever. And he's like, hey, this is out of my wrench doesn't know what to do. You tell my wrench and my wrench will wrench. Right. So it's like, okay, cool. So he's like, you're my reason, he's my wrench, and I'm the money. I'm like, okay. It's it's an old school term.
We get that a lot. We have a couple of vehicles in here from 2 other shops right now for programming and diagnosis. They rather send them to us than actually learn how to do it.
Right.
I recently, we did a podcast recently on the Matt Fonsler show, and there was a point that came up that said, if you're going to hire some great technology specialists to work in the base, you got to have work for them. And if not, you find a shop like G's and or a mobile, diagnostician specialist that can come to the shop. So I think that is a movement in who we hire, why we hire. But back to the training, G, it hit me really hard when you said what you said. Hands-on is going to be critical. And you're out there all over the country, G. You're seeing the same faces almost every city you go to that came a year ago or 6 months ago.
Right.
And what can we do? What can we do to move the industry to get our people who haven't been to training to training?
That's the tough part. Teaching for years, I have seen the same faces over and over. It doesn't matter if it's a Napa class I've done or a WorldPack class or my own classes. You usually see the same people. It's sad. And now a lot of the older guys are getting out and don't see as many of the young guys coming in, because they'll pick this up, right? Mm-hmm. And this is the power they think they need. They'll become YouTube certified, and not saying it is not, good stuff on YouTube. There may be, but there is a lot of junk in between the factual stuff.
Right.
There's no set standard in the industry of what you need to know. It's the Wild West when it comes to auto repair, or vehicle repair. Go out there, get a toolbox, roll it in. If you got good hands, you could be that good wrench. If you're a little smarter, you could be that good, diagnostician, technician. But one of the things I tried to get through when I was the STS president years back with SAE, since SAE makes standards, is a J standard for training. How many years of hours of training does a tech need each year? Yeah. But hard to push it.
You're right, G, but it still goes back to the responsibility of the shop owner who is repairing the vehicle for their client, wants to give them the best experience possible, and needs to look internally to say, how good are my people? What training have we done? What training have they done? What's their training resume look like? So we can go on and we could talk for 3 or 4 hours on this, but I think we've made a very strong point, and hopefully, first of all, I'm going to assume that the people who are on with us don't need this motivation. That's why they're here. But I've always done this. I've always asked those top tier shop owners. Share it with your friends. And if all of those friends are in, then let's reach out and find some other ones in almost an adopt a shop kind of mentality, because we need to upgrade. Let's do another question for Russ and Cindy. You guys, when we got together last time, talked a lot about the importance of great shop flow. Let's hear it.
It's a struggle. It comes down to the one thing that I think every single shop and industry, not just automotive, struggles with and can always learn and be better at is communication. So it's communication with the customer, and it's a connection with the customer. And that really is what starts the process. You've got to have a great relationship with the customer to get the information that you need, so that information makes it to the back of the house where the technicians are. It doesn't do any good to troubleshoot, test, do any diagnostic or drivability issues if you don't know what you're looking for. And it's funny, sometimes you hear that cliche, well, when I hit 60 miles an hour, I hear this whop, 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 whop. But you've got to validate that customer's concern and exactly what they said, so that the technician can actually go out, drive the car at 60 miles an hour and see if they can confirm exactly what the customer said they heard. And then the challenge obviously is to communicate back to the front what you found, why it did it, what's it going to take to fix it, and when you're going to have it done. And then they can communicate back with the customer. So really the flow starts as soon as the customer walks in the door.
So in my opinion, the flow really starts on the first appointment when they're booking the appointment. Start getting that information, start building that rapport with the customer, because the more you know about them before they come in, then you can, when they do come in with a face-to-face, you can really interact with them if you remember the little key things. And getting that customer to believe in you and trust you is the key.
Everyone, communication is one of the highest and hottest topics. In fact, Sarah Fraser and my daughter Tracy did an entire seminar here on Amplify just a few hours ago, and I thought they did a great job. It's so important that Vision this year on Saturday morning, I'm going to be moderating a panel with 2 shop owners, 2 technicians, and 2 service advisors. And we're going to talk front and back of shop communications and the power of it, and all those different jobs and how it all connects, because you not only have customer interaction, Cindy, perfect, and then front of shop to back of shop, back to front, you also have ownership, and the office needs to be involved in that thing. So it's this very interesting labyrinth of connectivity, and you can't get away without policies and processes.
Procedures, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? You probably need some software or some communication tools to make it work, right?
Yeah.
Yes, you do. And AutoLeap has some wonderful tools for that.
That they do. I was just going to say, in our shop, we use AutoLeap, and we could text customers pictures and videos, whatever they need, or email them, and it works real well.
Yeah.
Another really important factor when it comes to trust. So, we've touched on communication, and everybody can actually expand upon that and enhance it and grow it. There's always room. But the other one is trust, and transparency for me and our shop here is really, really important. There are times that a vehicle might come from another shop, as you mentioned earlier there at your shop, and they've been told that they need to have something done, and they bring it in for a second opinion. And we've also had instances where it's come from customers that we've got that are 175 miles away from us, and they rebuilt their own front end and then drove it to us to get the final alignment and the testing and to get everything dialed in. And we get it up on the rack, and they just replaced the ball joints, but they're bad. And how do you tell the customer that the work they just did is bad, that the ball joints are failing based on manufacturer specification? So transparency is important. We're not afraid to call the customer. Hopefully they're still within the immediate area. Say, hey, we would like to show you something, because telling them gives off the impression that you're trying to dig into their pocketbook. And today, unfortunately, in the industry, it does happen. So honesty, integrity, and transparency, communication, so many aspects that go into what we do every day that we have to constantly make sure we're on track with all of it.
That's why that old adage, a picture's worth 1,000 words,
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
worth a hell of a lot more nowadays.
Yeah.
Take
Yes,
the
it
picture,
is.
we show them the before and after, and they become believers. We give them scan tool data. And you can show them, they may not understand everything, but they could see different numbers or different graphs, different lab scope stuff.
Yep.
And that really gets us other customers. Majority of my customers are females, and they're a pleasure to work with, way better than males that think they know
But
everything.
know it all.
So when we explain something, the ladies are all ears. The guys are like,
We listen.
hey, that you do.
Hey, I want to give a shout out to my friend Carlos Ibuco from Sills Auto up in Canada. Daniel Stewart said living on an island makes it quite difficult and expensive to send text to training. Is there any good online training that I can sign them up for?
We have plenty of that at tstseminars.org.
Thank you, G. And Chris Stewart says, what about incorporating this into school programs so young adults can get a jump start into the industry? I'm big in this whole training piece for young people. I'm sitting on the advisory board of our local community college, but more and more, there is some heavy grassroots involvement in getting involved in education. So it's a great question. Anybody have any comments about that?
Yeah, we have a couple of people on the Napa apprentice program. Very well put together and helpful for young people or anyone that really doesn't know much about vehicles to get up to date to become ASE certified through it. Really good. I sit on our high school board here in New York called BOCES, and we always try to get young people involved. The thing is, there's so many distractors out there. And unfortunately, I guess the repair business doesn't, in most cases, pay enough to retain young people. They can go work in a mall and, really do close to nothing. So I think it's a tougher job and a tougher sell to get people involved in. But if you educate them, they can make money anywhere in the world. And that's the big thing, not just here in the US, but they can go anywhere.
Cindy and I are really fortunate, given the fact that we live all the way up here in Alaska, and it's a pretty much remote, right in the middle of the state. But we're fortunate that we have University of Alaska Fairbanks is here, and I sit on the board of advisors for the CTC program here at the college. But they're automotive, and they've also got a heavy program, so culinary. They've got all kinds of different things. But on the automotive side alone, getting them excited is a challenge. Being involved with the program, helping do all the accreditation that they have to go through, and being involved.
Hiring them as a student.
Yep. I have one technician that's been with us, and I forget the number. I want to say, I think it's 13 years.
Yes.
No, it's 13 years. And he started here as a shop hand pushing a broom. He went through the automotive program at CTC. He's still with us. He's an absolute fireball, doing a really, really amazing job, and still learning and growing every single day, and doing his ASE certifications. And he's pushing really hard to get his master ASE certifications done. And then we also have two Napa apprentices in the shop here as well, both of them fairly young. And I think it's amazing when you can get a young person in today that was mentioned earlier, and they're not picking this up, and they're not spending their day on that. They're actually trying to work for the money that they're earning, but they're excited, they're driven, and they're focused to learn and grow, and they want to be a technician. We really have to, honestly, I think, that's just my opinion, but I believe there's probably some pretty truth to it, that get involved with the automotive side in the high school. If you're fortunate enough to have automotive programs in the high school, get with the instructor, be part of that class, put yourself out there in front of the students, try and make our industry look attractive, because for so long, it's just been the guy comes home with the busted knuckles and the grease. And that's a wrench. And in my opinion, that's a wrench. If we can get a wrench and a technician and get them together, holy cow, that's when you really got a fireball, and hang on to them, do what you can to keep them, utilize any training that's possible. But it's expensive, and we're pretty much considered on an island here as well. So We take advantage of some other stuff that's out there, Napa for sure. I do a lot of online stuff with the SEMA group now and training with that and share that with my technicians and even my service advisors. And we send our people out to Utah for specific training. I'm getting ready to go to Utah myself next month with my shop foreman for some training. We have to, as a shop owner, budget for that and know that the challenge to stay current and to stay active and to stay with the industry is going to be expensive, but it has to be done.
Russ, thank you so much. Any idea what you're spending as a percent of sales? 3, 4, 5% on training?
I'm going to leave that up to the money person.
So we are doing at least 4%
Mhm.
of our sales, and that's incorporating our entire staff. It's not just for Russ and I, or just the lead service advisor. That's including every technician, apprentice, everything. So, we're doing at least 4%.
Hey, look, I don't
Something
want to.
else that we use also is they're out of Canada, but the Cars on Demand. Enroll your shop in Cars on Demand. They actually have a program where there's a tech on call. Once you're enrolled, if you've got a problem in the shop that you're really struggling with, you can get online with a tech on call, and they have access to this massive inventory of information that gets funneled to them from other shops, other technicians on best practices, best things that they've found, what they've done. We all know that wiring diagrams on some of the online programs, ShopKey, Identifix, there's others out there. I lose the name now, but they're not always 100% accurate. So making sure that you've got all that stuff, that access to be able for the training. But Cars on Demand also has testing. So as a shop owner or a shop foreman or a general manager, you can go in and enroll your staff and assign your staff to do the testing, and you can monitor that. All kinds of online training that's available from them, plus the help. So we've just learned to take advantage of anything that's out there that's available, because we're in such a remote location and don't have access to G coming up to Fairbanks, 2-3 times a year to give us, in-person on-hand training.
He loves the cold. He loves the cold.
I used to do that for 7 years. I want to think.
I know. I've actually been to a couple of your classes.
Nice,
Very
nice.
cool.
Hey, I don't want to belabor the education piece, but I just got to give me a minute. A lot of discussion of late on the pundits shows about value of college education. Okay. And I remember watching someone they were struggling to figure out what is it that people do with their hands. They couldn't even describe the word skilled trades. Okay, because they were so focused on that higher 4-degree further education. And then the discussion came to the value of that 4-year cost isn't anywhere near what it used to be, which is why we know that getting your skilled trade you pick whatever it could be, carpentry and electrical and plumbing, but automotive technology, we are a technology career today. Sure, we have to work with our hands, we have to lift heavy stuff, but so do plumbers and carpenters, and go on the line, go down the list. So I think when we get in front of high school, we need to talk about the undervalued cost of continuous education and the incredible job opportunities that exist in skilled trade. So please, let's all do that. Doc, I got to get you involved here.
Well, maybe I can jump on your last one real quick.
Oh, go ahead.
Give you guys a different angle on that, especially for you guys that are in small towns or remote locations. I would go down to the high school. I do go down to the high school because I'm specialty, right? I don't want run-of-the-mill guys that are just looking to change oil. But I go to the high school and I go, listen, there's an auto shop here. Great. You got any promising students? Yeah, great. Well, tell them I got an internship program that's scholarship based. It's not college, right? It's the word eludes me, right? We're a trade school. And what we want to do is you will work underneath my senior technician at a minimum pay rate to see you can get hands-on experience inside of a real automotive shop. And we can try you and you can try us. So you can have a summer job, an after school, a weekends thing, depending on what your shop is capable of doing. And you can trial these people and run them through your own shop and use your own in-house training and knowledge at no additional cost, and have someone that can clean and do trash and help the back end of your business. And you can acquisition a motivated worker that has no ill experiences and nothing to unlearn. And if you can, oh, you guys should get an automotive. If you want them to get an automotive, come work for you. Offer them something that sounds lucrative, and they'll come right to you. So I find that, like you're saying, if you really want to get in with that kind of stuff, there's some great opportunities. But if it works for your business, then find a way to offer it to them. And you'll find, I've had some great people. I've trained up about 10 different technicians that now all run their own shops. I gave them the, hey, you're outgrowing me. Teach my next 2 guys, and you need to go open up your own shop. Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, great. And they know that they can leave. They're not tied to me. And they're a great resource, and we utilize each other. And I'm building a network built up of people that I've been training. I've been doing it now for 10 years. So something to keep in mind. Be the change you want to see, right? Be the motivation for these upcoming youths.
Grow your own.
Go for it, Carm. Sorry, I just was thinking about that.
That's okay, Doc. I wanted to talk about, because you're a specialty operation. And where is the trade heading? And I'd love to hear from all of you about what are our capabilities? What are we doing to collaborate within the market? If I just invested in ADAS, am I telling the rest of the great shops and the collision people in the area, I'm ADAS? I mean, if you're great with air, you're in Las Vegas. I imagine there are air conditioning, maybe not specialty shops, but shops that specialize in that, just like Euros, just like Asian shops would be.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about the future of specialties.
Absolutely. So, and specialty can be such a broad function here, right? Inside of our automotive field, right? So when I say specialty, I'm working on Hellcats, I've got Corvettes, Camaros, I've got a dyno, right? We're doing performance work, we're doing upgrades, we're going beyond. But I used to run a body shop, one of the large FCOs, I won't mention names, but I've carried GM certification, FCA certification, Honda, every main dealer, and done body work. So there's specialty there too. And this is where I get into this weird category of, I learned ADAS when it was brand new. I learned tuning when EFI was fairly much taking over, calibration. And there are certain areas where you need to learn, and it should almost be like an office manager's task. If you're doing collision work, or you're working on a lot of cars where you're pulling bumpers and they've got ADAS systems, you need to train someone to do ADAS. That stuff's easy. Mitchell offers programs. They're very simple to pick up. Learn that specialty stuff, or cultivate a great relationship with someone in your immediate area that does it. Because there are a lot of mobile guys, and there's a lot of companies that specialize in that, but there's so much profit and headroom inside of that. And if anybody has any challenges with ADAS, grab my contact information, hit me up directly. I can help you polish that, whether it's for customers or insurance based. But the ADAS type stuff, as you're working on cars, like we work on a Corvette, and if I have to pull a transmission, the back panel comes off the car. You pull the rear bumper, the tail assembly, and they have parking sensors, and it trips out. So when I get done doing a transmission on a Corvette, I've got to send the car over to an ADAS calibrator, or to the dealer, or to someone that can get those, the customer, how many times do you hear that? It wasn't like that when I dropped it off. Yeah, it was broken. I fixed that part. We got one more things to do that my shop doesn't specialize in. And you want to minimize how many times you say that to a customer to achieve. Yeah, so where we're headed, I mean, if you can't tell, I feel like I've only laid out 25% of what I think that conversation entails. And it's not, like I said, it's not always training. You want to think, you can train somebody to do the ADAS, but if you have a great relationship with someone that is remote or in your area, you can still profit on it.
Sublet.
Yeah, cultivate your sublets, and if somebody doesn't treat you the way you want to be treated, don't keep them. Move on. Was it Russ earlier that was saying, be honest with your customers, clairvoyant. Mm-hmm. Hey, this is a task that's being performed by a subletter, someone who I've done a lot of business with, but they're real busy. I can't get this portion completed of it. Be honest, because you don't want to be hesitant with your customers about these areas that are outside of your shop's capability. Don't ever try to trick the customer into thinking that you've got it all figured out. Let them know, hey, we've got a 19 F-150 in for a pair of turbo replacements. And the customer is like, hey, well, what's going on with, I said, hey, I don't tune a lot of these. So on the tuning side, I'm not going to be lickety split. We're putting aftermarket turbines on there larger than the OEM. And the reason, they were cheaper and they were easier to get even with the custom programming. But I got to be honest with the guy saying, hey, the book rate is 10 hours to do this job, but this job is, this is a new car and I don't see a lot of these. Bear with me. My technicians can handle the work, but I want to make sure that I give you this extra time that it takes to do it right, because this isn't a common car, especially say like Alaska, no doubt. I mean, they're not going to run down the street to go into 3 other guys. There's not going to be 10 people that just, there's someone better. But if that's the customer's choice too, don't hesitate to say, don't take on a job that's outside of your forward-looking capability, and I would say keep a special notebook for forward items and say, hey, I'm bumping into a challenge right now that's outside of my normal capability. And I don't want to get to the end of the week and go, didn't I say we should be doing some training on something? And you forget what it is, whether it be you, your tech, your sales end guy. So, but I have big challenges, and to answer a question with a question, basically, that we don't do anything electric, no Tesla, no EV hybrid, which is funny. I owned a Honda Insight in 03, 04 when they were new. I modded the crap out of those. I had one that did 150 miles a gallon. I know the platform, but I've just kind of forgotten about it and it's not stayed with it. If it's a hybrid and it needs a motor or a battery, sure, change it. But when it comes to these newer setups, I'm in the dark on Tesla and Rivian and these emerging platforms. And right now, for me, I don't know about the rest of y'all, but for me, with that kind of stuff, I have a category that says it's too far for me. My business is not in a position to take on EVs as a whole. The training that I think that it would be, and a bay to have dedicated to that so it can be profitable and I can deliver quality products, I'm putting that on hold for my business until I either have more space or a motivated technician, or maybe somebody that I pick up in the high school is like, yeah, I'm all about EV. I'm like, great, maybe you can teach me something. But I have a category inside of future proofing that says, yeah, EVs are, just like we stopped working on diesels. There's too much EPA in our area. So we stopped working on that. I'm not doing diesel training. I'm not doing EV training. So, we have areas that we know we need to work on and are going to work on. And then we have areas that we do not currently. And so don't be hesitant. You can't take on every topic. Probably G can probably speak to that better than I could.
No, you're definitely right. Definitely right. You can't be a specialist in everything. You got to go what makes you money, and you have to work with other people. So if someone is better at something, we don't do ADAS because of space. So we send ADAS out, not that we can't do it. Another good resource that everyone should know is the Opus platform. Opus has some really good stuff. The Opus IVS, they will put a specialist on. So I did a couple of webinars with them on BMWs, Mercedes, and of course, Tesla. Most people don't know how to connect to a Tesla. We get them in. We can connect to them. We have the capabilities of repairing, diagnosing them, and, people trust you. And again, when you show them certain things, and it's not your father's Oldsmobile anymore, simple cooling system flush. Oh, you're not just going in there and flushing it. Same with air conditioning. It's a whole different animal that, if you're going to get into that business, you're going to need it. Just like 1234 YF, right? If you don't have a 1234 YF machine, you're going to have to buy one. I mean, we've been doing them for years for body shops.
Yeah.
So, at first our customers didn't have them, but now, come on, almost every car has it.
Right. Yeah. We bought we bought a YF machine day one because I saw all the Mopars that were doing it on the collision side, and we collected every body shop in the area, and I made more money pumping RF at YF into cars than anything else. And then when the COVID price hit, guess who had 500 pounds of YF on hand? I did. So it went from $200 for a 10-pounder to $1,000 a 10-pounder. And then I became a 10-pounder reseller, and I made more money selling the fluid to the people that bought the machines because they got tired of dealing with me. So like you're saying, always be ready to spot the expansion. That's the hard thing, like that kind of stuff of being aware of it as it comes on hand. Right. And then having it available. But like you said, like Tesla, I think Tesla's a great example too. If those of you guys that don't know, Tesla has a full-blown, probably not in Alaska, but I'm sure you're used to hearing that. But if I work on a Tesla, I call the Tesla repair network and they send a technician to do the programming and the sequence updating for you. It's a service. You can pay for it. So in most metropolitan areas, Tesla provides it. Now they're one of the, if you've never really worked much on those cars, their parts supply network can be a challenge too. So, you know, be careful of that, you know, but yeah, there's always learning sometimes isn't about learning how to do it. It's learning about how it's done. Right. And sometimes too.
And what's available.
Yeah.
You know, plug for Dorman products. They make a lot of the things that break on Teslas.
Yeah.
They have a pretty good line of it that they sell through Napa and Worldpac.
Right. Absolutely. So yes, yeah. And that's why we're saying to cultivate a good relationship with your subs. And sometimes, you know, if you have a great relationship with a sub and it's mutually profitable, then that's great. And a lot of times you will learn just by, you know, by proxy, by osmosis. You'll be in the vicinity, you'll see how it's done. Don't hesitate to ask a question, and you'll see all of a sudden you'll be like, you know what, this is something we could do. And they, you know, they were trained to do it. You can get that training too. It's out there.
We're
Okay,
pretty
I have a
unique
question.
here where we're at.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
So we're pretty unique where we're at because it's we used to be a specialty shop, and we used to just do brakes, chassis, and steering, and then it specialized in all of that with the alignments. But we expanded into general service. But it's really, unless you're a destination shop, Las Vegas, New York, Arizona, the larger metropolis areas, you guys have enough of a car count in any given specialty that if you profess to be, and you train and you actually deliver to be the best in that area of specialty you're advertising in, you're going to be busy and you're going to stay that way. And we don't have that kind of car count. So we here at Frontline, we do everything, and I work on everything from Tesla to Sprinter, Freightliner Sprinter vans, diesel to gas. We work on everything. So the challenge, it adds a whole new level of challenge for training. It's a whole lot easier if all you're going to work on is on Honda at the dealership level, for example. You're only training your guys on how to do Honda. And then you're going to be able to have guys that might specialize in one line of Honda. I just do the Pilot, or I just do the CRV, or whatever it might be, where because we have everything, and the industry changes so much so fast every day. And now we're starting to see the 2020 stuff that's falling off the 336 factory. So we have to stay with that technology. And it's a bit of a challenge. It really is.
Well, your area is definitely unique by geographical location, but that's when I would bump into stuff like, so like our remote calibration and training, you know, and tech integration systems that, for us, one of my primary customers is actually American-based trucks, gas-powered American trucks. But we're in the high desert, so we get a lot of people that work in the test site, or they drive back and forth to California. A lot of gas-powered trucks. And so one of the things that we do in our shop is we do the tuning and the adjustments to the engine, and we do it off the dyno. And we try to talk to shops like yours and say, listen, you're missing out. A guy comes in with a 08 Silverado 5.3 and you do plugs and wires. If you're not calibrating that engine for Alaska, he's not getting maximum. It's going to run worse. He's not going to get gas mileage. He's not going to get longevity. But if you can't offer that to him, you're missing out on what we charge $350, $450, $550. Is anybody even doing that in your area? And if you could make, So if you can do that kind of stuff, then and maximize on your, so finding those kind of things where you're like on your sales side, are you truly maximizing your tickets, you know, for who is coming to you? You may not be specialty, but you know, are you really maximizing that each ticket as it comes into the customer? But they sometimes too, you find that the customers just don't have the money or have the desire to do it. But, you know, finding those areas in the future for your shop, all shops, is, to me, the for us it's 35%, and for most of the shops that we work with, it's 25 to 30%. And it's like it's that area that if it's not properly sold and taken care of, you're just missing out.
I have a comment. I think if Doc ever gets into EVs and he's a tuner, he's going to make them go so fast. I have a comment. I was with a group of shop owners the other day, and one of the guys who has an ADAS calibration system, and he's doing a lot for the marketplace. was very frustrated that some of the stuff that's coming in, they're taking off bumpers, putting them back on. And the point is that everybody, work on ADAS calibration or not, needs to go to training to understand it and respect it, and to know when and when not. You probably need to do a calibration and not send the customer back out to come back to say things aren't working right. So it goes back to, just because you're not invested in ADAS calibration doesn't mean you don't. And I think one of the ADAS classes at Vision sold out like in days. And so if that's a indicator, then I think we're starting to move in that total education about ADAS.
Yeah,
Well,
you hit the nail on the
Carm,
head. Sorry.
yeah, everything today in our shop, if I bring in a 2020 vehicle and it's going to go on the alignment rack, it's going to get tie rod ends or ball joints replaced or anything for those in the steering range where you're going to get the opportunity, it's going to have to go on an alignment rack. Guess what? It's ADAS. Because the electric steering rack talks with lane departure. It talks with everything. And you can't, the days of just putting it on the machine and setting caster, camber, and tow are done. You better know ADAS, and you better know when you're doing the alignment, what it's going to affect. And oftentimes, and I think a lot of shops miss the boat, because you're also going to have to hook the scan tool up, not to just do ADAS, but reset the steering angle sensor. And are they selling that time? Are they selling the ability to do that? The tooling that it costs to have that stuff on hand, and then the training for the technician to know what and how and why they're doing it, and then to verify that it was correct when they were done. I don't do the panel stuff like Doc does. I don't, and it's probably the same reason G don't. We don't have the room for an ADAS machine specifically, but doing the ADAS portion of the alignment, we definitely do that.
Well,
but it's a challenge.
If you do alignments though, so the way that we were doing it back in 2015, we were kind of in the same boat as you when I was just doing collision, insurance-based repair constantly. Yeah, I know it's kind of a pain, but what we ended up doing, because I saw how much money we were going out the door not doing the ADAS, it was in my metrics. I'm like, hey, I'm subletting it and they're paying it. And I looked at it and went, let's take the drive-on lift for the Hunter and let's dig a 11-inch hole in the ground to put the drive-on the ground, and that made the drive-on level with the ground. Now I have a bay that I can do ADAS in. That's all it took. Like the space to do ADAS is the size of a bay.
It is now. When it first came out, though, holy crap, they wanted you
tough.
to have 30 feet and 20 feet. Every manufacturer was different, but it's definitely gotten to the point
I
where
was doing the majority of them since 14. And I know what you're saying. Exactly what you're saying is one of those things that drives me crazy, because what the book said and what it took to do it weren't accurate. And so
interesting.
I spent a lot of time with the insurance companies arguing about cost, effectiveness, accuracy, whether it needed to be done, whether or not they wanted to do it or not. Like you're saying, that was back in the we kind of wrote the book on, no, you're gonna do it. Like you said, we're changing a windshield with a sensor inside of it. It's like, it has to be programmed. Oh, no, it doesn't. It works. There's no codes. I'm like, I don't care. It has to be done. Oh yeah, and then like you're saying, it's and a lot of times too, you can get away with doing anything where there's long distance. It's mostly done on the street. Like you can, like a Tesla, you take it for a drive, and it sanity checks and goes, hey, this is
use your scan tool with it, and you can see if it's calibrated or not.
Yep, you can.
But everything from changing a headlight to suspension, you have to warn the customer up front that there's going to be a charge for ADAS.
Right.
We don't let anything go out without it. I mean, especially here in Sioux City, if someone gets in an accident and you did some repair on their car and ADAS wasn't taken care of, someone's going to sue you.
Yeah, you're tied to that car.
I didn't know you lived in Sioux City. Oh my God, that's interesting. So look we've got a lot of people still hanging in there with us. We have a Q&A session open, which is a great thing. And by the way, part of the discussion from yesterday that I heard about ADAS was the collision industry, or the insurance, is going to be ramping up a higher degree of qualifications for ADAS calibration that is sent out as a sublet. And they're going to be looking for pictures and a lot more evidence that it was done. So I am not a collision expert, but I did hear it from from an ADAS specialist who's deeply involved with working and helping collision shops.
Well, Carm, that's just like pre and post scan. Some of the
exactly
OEs
right.
will
Yeah.
not take an aftermarket tool. They only want OE tools.
Right.
Well, you look at what the manufacturers are doing today, Fiat Chrysler, with the issues they were having with people hacking in. You can't even barely talk to anything new on a Chrysler without being registered with Chrysler, with the shop and your tool and your technician, so they know who, what, where, and why they were in that vehicle.
And right. And to like 30-second you on that, that's why one of the things that we do is we actually do computer modification for FCA in-house. So we actually open the computers up and we go, and bye, thanks, we're on board. So we do the unlocking, so it takes that crap away, and then you can do engine modifications or chassis adjustments, or how many times have you had a since we're specialty, right? But we're dealing with Corvette CTSVs,
Right.
magnetic lev suspension, or an air ride on an Escalade, and someone like, I don't want that crap anymore. Can't you just put regular shocks on it? Yeah, not without throwing lights. Well, so we do these computer modification services in-house. They're very simple, and any shop can do them. The training for it is super simple. You just work with someone that has a master setup, you have a slave setup, and then you can start doing more repairs that are more creative. And I always say more vintage. But
Doc, you just put in a paper clip and be done with it?
Around here we call that burning the car to the ground. You can do that anytime you'd like. I don't know if you've ever done that, but it works real good on the injectors. Yeah, put one on the injector.
Hey, G, let me ask you questions about any
Sure.
challenges that you're having with repairing vehicles, part availability, parts quality. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, we've had, since the pandemic, there has been issues with sometimes something as simple as brake rotors or brake pads that are just not available. And you'd go, hold it. We're dealing with Napa, CarQuest, Whirlpack, and all the companies and the OEs, and they go, nah, sorry, it's on back order. We've had that issue with transmissions, with, sometimes even with tires. Someone comes in with a specialty tire, they may be driving a Corvette or a Porsche or whatever, and go, that tire's not available right now. And you feel bad for them, but there's really nothing you can do. I think, since the pandemic, we relied on the way things used to be. A lot of stuff is made in China, even, for Japanese OE cars or Asian OE cars, besides some domestic stuff. So there's an issue sometimes getting parts, and you need to explain to the customer up front. I know we had a Subaru block we were waiting for, and they waited a few months. We said, hey, can't find it anywhere.
Is it getting better? It's getting better, though.
It seems to be a bit better. Yeah, it seems to be a bit better, but it is still a challenge on certain things.
The supply is getting better, but what about the one thing that we struggle with is pricing, the costs. And then we've also had issues with the quality. Napa, for example, has this huge network of people that they've promised that they're going to supply parts to. And so they're grabbing ball joints from whoever could actually fill that. And it was not uncommon to get the same part number in two different appearing ball joints and the same part number box. Or in the case of the individual that drove 175 miles, they were literally out of spec, brand new out of the box. Wherever he bought them, I don't know what brand it was, but so COVID really threw a wrench into a lot of different things. Availability of people and people wanting to work.
But
products.
Look, COVID's over. COVID is over, and I know we're still coming up and out of it, but from the client and this pure sales experience where the money isn't as plentiful as it was, as shop owners, are you feeling any pinch in a new economy?
Absolutely.
I think we're doing well. We're up over last year, and the year before we were up as well. I think people are spending more down here. We're working on older vehicles that before maybe the vehicles we worked on were 3 to 5 years old. Now they're pulling them out of somewhere. They're getting some of these older cars, because when they look at the average price of a car in the 40,000+ range, they're deciding to dump money in on these older vehicles. Right. And I'm talking early 2000, that's 24 years ago.
Right. And that's
very rare car in the 90s, but
it's changing, and that's why I think it's interesting in the Alaskan variant of it. What I see is we don't have the variance in our cars like we used to. I'd get a Kia Sophia, I'd get an Isuzu Rodeo, I get all these cars and be like, when was the last time we saw like a Mercury Marauder? Like I don't see that anymore. Right? Everybody laughs, right? And because what's happening is now, like Carm, like you say, COVID's over, but COVID to us never had to do with illness. COVID was a phrase that maintained, it's like saying Generation X. For us, it's a phrase that means things are now different, right?
Different.
To all of us. And what I think is difficult is that when I've got a guy that comes in with a Z28 Camaro 2015, most people have never even seen one of those. And it comes in, the guy goes, hey, I'm looking for this stuff. I'm like, dude, you're out of your mind. There are no parts for that car, and I will not attempt to repair it. And if you don't know how to do that in your area, then you might find yourself in the midst of performing a repair that shouldn't even be in your shop. You're like, well, what am I going to do? The guy needs help. I'm like, your car choice is not my problem. And it's unfortunate, but the auto market, just like G is saying, is you're getting this migration of cars, of older cars. The cars that can make it are surviving. And the cars that don't are cars for clunkers, right? Who knows that one, right? They're burning away, and they're going to junkyards, and they're fading away. And you have to make sure that you don't do that, right?
What's really interesting for us here in Alaska is the trend. When we're watching what's happening down in Las Vegas and New York and the lower 48, it takes almost 2 years before that trend catches us.
Sure.
So, and it's really strange considering that we have I call it a transit customer base. Here in Fairbanks, we've got two of the, one of the largest Army bases and one of the largest Air Force bases. So we get a lot of transit people in and out with the military transfers, but yet that the trend is still sometimes 2 to 3 years behind the lower 48.
Right. And maybe a cheat you can pay attention to for any of you guys that are in remote locations. I got trained on this 15 years ago because my lead tech is from Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico is the worst conditions and it's island of its hellhole of itself, like Hawaii. And they're in these places where, my tech, he's 30 years old and he knows how to program a VCR. He even knows what one is. And I'm like, wait a minute, why do you know that? It's like, well, because of Puerto Rico, they have to fix.
Hey, I may want to say something here, Nicole. I think Nicole is here because I think we are at time out. Am I right, Nicole?
You're getting close. So I was just joining as like a reminder.
And how is close? Do we have a minute or two? Because we
have about 3.
We have about 3 minutes. Wow. All right, look at. Before I run out of time at the end, I want to thank G. Truglia, Doc Duggan, and Russ and Cindy Reason out of Alaska. This was great. I loved your banter. It was so great. So in the final minutes, the final 2 minutes, and Russ, I don't think you can say anything in 2 minutes, but I'm going to try this. How are you finding technicians in Alaska?
I'm doing working interviews, Carm. We brought a technician up from the lower 48, plane ticket, Airbnb, and work him for a week to be at a chance to see how he does.
Okay, so
it's expensive. You
got to protect their people, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Send us your good ones.
You can good luck. Good luck. No, that's
we are having to look out of state.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's fascinating to see all the different challenges and what Doc is doing and G is doing and Russ and Cindy are doing. Just a fabulous microcosm of such an incredible industry and how each of you are hammering out all of your great challenges and opening up opportunities for yourself. So we really want to thank Amplify for letting us just speak all about the great bacon that we're making. So thank you so much.
Absolutely.
And just really quick, this is awesome because not only does it allow everybody that's been online watching this, but it's allowed the 3 of our shops to learn a way to even network with each other and learn more. So we're here. Get a hold of us, drop us a message, need anything. That's for anybody online or G or Doc. I'm definitely going to be doing the same.
Same here.
Thank you.
I'll be up in Alaska in June, I think.
Stop in.
Stop by and see us.
We'll take you out boating.
Yeah, there you go.
Bye, everybody.
All right.
Thank you, Nicole.
Thanks, Com.
Thanks,
Thank you
guys.
guys
Guys.
so much. You've been
care.
fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
everybody.
Bye.